Alright class, welcome back. We are now on our second lesson of our extended break. We are on lesson 12.2, describing angles and plane shapes. Hopefully you watched the Math Antics video about angles and the different types of angles and how they're formed. So our GoMath lesson is going to take us a little bit deeper into that and get a chance to actually practice and see some of the examples that he talked about. Unlike the problem, an angle is formed by two rays that share an endpoint. Plane shapes have angles formed by two line segments that share an endpoint. The shared endpoint is called a vertex. The plural of vertex is vertices. Jason drew this shape on dot paper. The question they want us to talk about is how many angles are in Jason's shape. So from the last time I've seen you, I've actually figured out how to draw now, so I'm a little bit better. So how many angles are there? As you can see, when this line, I just choose the same color as the dots, and this line meet, that forms an angle. This line here meets this line as an angle. This line and this line, and then also that line. As we can see that there are 4 angles in this shape. All right, as we call this is called a vertex where they meet. All right, and then this part right here is an angle. All right, and that's what we're going to be working on today, the different types of angles that we will find in math. Let's see if I can clear that off. All right. See, I'm learning new things every day, just like you guys. Hope you guys are having fun at home, helping your parents with the housework, cleaning your rooms, setting the table at dinner, and being nice to your brothers and sisters if you have them. And I know you are all doing that. So let's look at the angles and the shapes that Jason drew. How can you describe the angles? We just did that. So here we're going to learn how to describe angles. So there are 3 types of angles, and actually lesson 12.12 only names one of them. But we're going to learn the other 2 because I expect the most from you, so we're going to teach it to you now, and we're going to reinforce that later in the chapter. The first one is a right angle. All right, so this is a right angle is an angle that forms a square corner. Now everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a square corner because it's a square in the middle. All right, it's a little bit confusing. Yes, there is a square in the corner of these angles because they are a right angle. A right angle is a straight corner. All right, and then whenever we see one, the symbol is that you put a square in it. Now in real life, we see right angles all the time. I'm going to scroll down here. So in a tile, you know, you see tiles, you see bricks, you see all kinds of stuff like this. See how this line comes straight down, and then we have this one, so it makes like an L. Whenever you see an L like this, this is a right angle. You see them all the time in tiles. Over here you can see them in a birdhouse angle. You see it right here in this birdhouse. The corners of all your windows, railroad ties, road crossings, steps, everywhere. All right. Probably one of the most common that you see at school, especially our floor tile and our ceiling tile, are made up by right angles. So whenever you see that L, is what I tell everybody. Look for that L, and if it's an L perfectly, then you know that it is a right angle. Pull back to our screen there. So all right. So as we can see, we're right here. Those are the right angle is the first one. The next 2 are a little bit trickier to say and learn. The first one is what happens when it's less than. As you can see here, it's not quite an L. It's a little bit less. I always like to say if it's pinched in a little bit. So here would be the L. It would come up through here. So it's being pinched in this direction, which means it's a little bit less than a 90-degree angle. So this angle right here is less, and we actually call that in real life, that's called an acute angle. Or some of my silly kids like to say, ooh, it's a cutie. Actually, it's a acute angle. And then here, this angle up the top here, where it opens up, is actually called an obtuse angle. Now I'm going to redraw it down here the best I can. So an obtuse angle, instead of going straight up like a right angle, it comes out and it's open. It's like an L that opens up to be bigger. In real life, I've got a couple different examples here I would like to show you. Once I get the spider web over here on the right side of your screen. The spider is currently showing you what an obtuse angle would look like in nature. Let me get rid of all that other old stuff. That's gone. So if we connect this angle, the spider actually works as the vertex. Ooh, I'm learning how to use this pen. There we go. I'm doing the best I can. There we go. The spider works as the vertex right there. And then the other line creates the obtuse angle. Now if we draw that circle there, that kind of represents that angle. This would be the straight L. Then it opens up bigger, which would be an obtuse angle. So the three types of angles in review are your right angles, that is your L. You have your acute angle, which is an L that's kind of pinched in, and your obtuse angle is one that is opened up. All right. So if we look back at Jason's shape way up here, all right. So we go, whoa, whee. All right, Jason's shape. So this is what we're looking at to answer this next question. All right. So if we look at Jason's shape, the question is, two angles are blank angles. Blank angle is a right angle, and a blank angle is a right angle. All right. So if you, I'm not going to write all these in. Up there in the shape, two of them are right angles. One is less than a right angle, and one is greater than a right angle. So obviously, if we're going to say in a more exact term, two of them are right, one is acute, and one is obtuse. Hopefully the math antics video also helped kind of explain that. If you're not sure, you can watch it again, or there's other tons of resources online that I can get to you also. One activity, if you have at home, if you have bendable straws, or sometimes what I do is I use two regular straws and I put a little pipe cleaner in between, and you can actually make a little what I call an angle generator, where you can actually practice making acute, obtuse, and obtuse, acute, and right angles. So you got extra time and you got some straws at home and you got parent permission, maybe have someone help you make an angle generator. I obviously can't make it with you right now, but I can help you understand the difference in the angles. All right, so how many angles? So if we're looking at down at the bottom of page 704, how many angles are in this triangle? So they're asking you just how many angles. They're not asking you how many acute, how many obtuse, or how many right there are. They just want to know how many angles. So go ahead and take a moment, think about that. And if you said 3, you are correct. There's an angle here, an angle here, and an angle here. And those of you who like to understand how words are created, tri means 3. Tricycle, tripod, all have the word tri in them. Triangle, obviously angle means angle. So triangle literally means 3 angles. That's how it got its name. Fun fact for you there to keep you awake on this nice extended break. So it says use a corner of a sheet to tell. You don't really have to use a corner of a sheet. Most of the time you're able to look at this and figure it out if you think about what an L would look like on one side. So is it a right angle, less than a right angle, or greater than a right angle? If we're looking at, so go ahead and look at number 2, 3, and 4. As soon as I get done talking, go ahead and press pause and answer them, and then we'll go over them. So go ahead and press pause. All right, hopefully you had a chance to look at them, and so you're trying to figure out, is it at a right angle, is it less than, or is it greater than? Here we have, you notice how it opens up. If it opens up past the L, so our L would go straight, the backwards L would go straight here, and then straight up. So this one is bigger than that. So this one would be greater. Now I'm not going to make you watch me write the whole word greater. I'm just going to put a G on there for greater, because no one wants to watch me try to write with this pen tool right here. Here, the L would be a straight line here, and it would come straight down like that. And notice how it's pinched in. So that would be less than. I'm going to put an L for that one. And this one has a really big clue. My classes are always like, oh, look, there's a square in there. Oh, yeah, a square. Yeah, that gives it the symbol. So whenever there's a square corner, just like our straight up L, that is a right angle. This is always the symbol for a right angle. I want to put an R. All right, and for all you overachievers out there, a right angle is always measured at 90 degrees. And we'll get more into that later. So 90 degrees. Let me clear that off. We're going to keep continuing here. There we go. I'm getting the hang of this. All right. So now you guys are going to work for a little bit. This is a little bit tricky. My students usually every year have a little bit difficult with this, but that's good. It's good to struggle, good to challenge yourselves here. So numbers 5, 6, and 7, I want you to look at all the angles, not just the ones that have the squares in them, but look at all the angles, and you got to figure out how many right angles are there, how many less than, which would be acute, and how many are greater than. So within each shape, label how many there are for each one. All right, go ahead and press pause and work. All right, let's see how well you did. All right, let's kind of go through this. So how many right angles are there? On this one, we can see the symbols. It gives it away. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 right angles. How many are less than? There are 0. There are 2 angles left, and they are both opened up. So they are both greater than. They are both greater than. Over here, we don't see any symbols we don't see any L's or any symbols, so there are 0 right angles. There are 2 that are acute. These 2 right here, that one is less than, and that one is less than. So there are 2 that are less than right. And then up here, these are both greater because they open up. So we have 2 that are greater than right. And number 7, this is our square. So look here, we have 4 right angles, 0 are less than right, and 0 are greater than right. So hopefully we're getting a little bit better at recognizing them. If not, we're going to keep practicing. As we know, it's always growth that we're looking for. So you may not be perfect yet, but that's okay. We're going to keep working. So let's scroll down. So pretty much the exact same thing that we've kind of worked out. So you're going to work on number 8, 9, 10, where you're just telling me is it a right, is it less, is it greater? On the bottom you're going to figure out how many are right, how many are less than, and how many are greater than. So go ahead and press pause and work on those, and then we'll go over them after a few moments. All right, hopefully you had a chance to press pause and work here. Now I've already spent a lot of time going over this, so I'm just going to go over the answers with you. This one is less than. It is pinched in. So it is pinched in from an L, so that would make it a less than. This one, when I see the symbol right away, so I know that that is a right angle, so I'm going to put an R for right. And here, it's tricky, but it actually is opened up. So that is a greater than a right angle. Greater than a right angle. 11, 12, 13. For number 11, we had 1 right angle. We can see it right there. There are 2 less than right. These are both acute right here. They're pinched in. So that means there are 0 that are greater. Here's our rectangle. The rectangle actually has 4 right angles, which means that there's 0 less and 0 greater because there are only 4 angles in a quadrangle. Our trapezoid over here, we have 2 right. We have 1 that's less right there. And we have 1 that's greater. All right. That's my primary goal today. It's 15 minutes about in there. So that's today's lesson. If you want to keep working through your book, please be my guest. Please remember, if you are not through 12s yet and reflex, make sure you're clicking on that reflex tab every day and getting that green light. I am keeping track of you guys. Keep working. Don't spend all day on here. Make sure you're helping your parents around the house, and you're being nice to your brothers and sisters. So until next time, I shall see you. Have a great extended break.